Hello, we're Team 5 Guys, and I'm Simon.
I am Adrian.
I'm Will.
I'm Rory. And I'm Tom.
Together, we built our app, Gigtastic, which is an app to help you find gigs. Why did we make this? Well, if you'd like to go and see a gig tonight, you'd have to find one by trawling through all of the gig listings, and if you wanted to listen to the bands, you'd have to go and search them on Spotify or YouTube separately. We wanted to make a more fun interface that lets you hear the music as you see the gig listing, to help you quickly decide if you're interested in that event. The tech stack that we used for this was the Expo framework and using React Native. We used Firebase for authentication and users logging in. We used Axios for API calls to the following: OpenStreetMaps to help you find location, the Scuttle API to get the events in that location, and then Spotify to play back music by the artists at those events. We use Firebase Firestore for the backend so that the user can store their saved gigs, and we use Firestore Jest Mock to test the functions.
Thanks, Simon. Gigtastic is the best app for gigs. To start, just sign up. Choose your best email. Choose your best password. Remember, it has to be 6 characters long, at least. Then press sign up button, and it's gonna take you to the main page.
After signing up, you'll be shown this page. A city name is required to start the search. Leaving this empty will cause an error. As well as the city name, a radius can be added to further define your search. Once results are found, there are now 3 main options. By clicking the hand on the left, the gig will be rejected, adding the gig to your reject list so that it will not be shown in your results again. To reset this reject list and add the rejected gigs back into your possible results, the reset button in the middle can be clicked. The next option is the info button, which brings you to a new screen displaying additional information about the gig. Here you can find venue details, timings, and a link to buy the tickets. The final option is the like button on the right. By clicking the like button, this gig will be added to your gigs like list. The liked gigs can be seen at any time by navigating to the saved tabs.
Within the saved list, you'll be shown a list of all the gigs that you've liked. In this list, you can click on an info button, which will show you things like a description, timings, and venue details. It'll also, again, provide you with a link to buy tickets. And if you decide this gig is not for you, there's a remove button, which will remove this from the list.
Of course, building this application did not come without its challenges. For authentication, we used Firebase authentication services, which was tricky and difficult to implement at first, but we had to persevere and get stuck into the docs to really implement this properly. In addition, some of the APIs that we used, particularly from Spotify and OpenStreetMap, were difficult to navigate, and once again the documentation was not entirely clear. With shared reading and grit determination, we managed to get to the bottom of this and implement the APIs and do the calls as best we possibly could. Another issue came with the iframe, which came from Spotify. The iframe, which can play previews, is more suited to web pages rather than mobile apps. So adjustments had to be made to the gig card in order to accommodate the Spotify iframe as best as possible. Another issue, which again was associated with Firebase, came with the section of Firebase regarding functions. Functions in Firebase act very much like Express apps do, where you can define endpoints. However, this was difficult to navigate, and with time being short, we had to do database calls directly through the client application. So what would we do next if we had given the time? We would probably save our Spotify information into some kind of state so that we didn't have to call the Spotify API on every time the application renders. In the same way that certain dating apps allow you to swipe, we would like to implement this as well, and we'd also like to implement Facebook and Google login capabilities. But thank you very much for listening. We've been Five Guys.